Hi, welcome to Green Door Gourmet here at Hidden Valley Farm. My name's Richard Jones and I'm here to show you some tips and tricks for frying green tomatoes. Begin by arranging your ingredients. Firstly, make your seasoned flour. With 2 cups of all-purpose flour, can just be approximate. 1 tablespoon of salt. The flour should be quite highly seasoned. 1 teaspoon of garlic powder or granulated garlic. 1/2 teaspoon of paprika. And 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Mix these ingredients together with a whisk or a fork. Alternatively, as well as salt and garlic powder and black pepper, you could also adjust the seasonings for the dish that you wish to complement. So if you were doing a pasta and you wanted fried green tomato sides, or you had a veal scallopini, you could add some Italian seasoning or basil, dried basil to the mix. You could, if you were having a Greek, say spinach feta pie, you could add some oregano to it for a Greek flavor. Or if you wanted to spice things up a little bit, you could add some cayenne pepper or some ground mustard. Take your tomato and lie it on its side and remove the small end, and then you want to cut them about 1/4 to 1/3 of an inch thick. You can either use a bread knife like I just did, or you can also use a tomato knife, which has a tip that's useful for just cutting out a little bit of that core, and that way you're really only discarding 2 tiny pieces. The second step in breading your green tomatoes is to either use a buttermilk, which I'll be using here from JD Country Milk, or you could use a whole milk beaten with some egg. And that way you have a nice thick liquid for the seasoned flour to stick to the fried green tomato. The next bowl, or the third bowl, is going to hold the cornmeal. I'm using the Shelton Farms from Tennessee, and you want about 1 cup of cornmeal for each fried green tomato. So I'm going to use about 4 cups here. Start your oil at about 4 out of 10 on your stove top. You want to just bring it up slowly rather than starting it out at a high heat and then having to try and cool it down. I've got about 1 inch of a canola or a grapeseed oil in a heavy deep-sided pot such as a Dutch oven. The weight of the pot is important because that will evenly distribute the heat of the oil and stop the oil from getting too cold as you add the fried green tomatoes. To tell if your oil is at the correct temperature, you can start to see the oil convecting or gently moving in the pan, and you can also test by using a little bit of flour. If you drop the flour in and it disperses on top like so and turns a golden color, then the oil is at a good temperature for frying. So to do this process, the easiest way is to use a 2-hand technique known as a dry hand, wet hand technique, or you can also use a pair of tongs, which will also be a dry tong and a wet tong. So take your first tomato and pop it in the flour, and using your dry tong, coat that evenly with the seasoned flour, and from there pop it into the buttermilk. Using your wet tong, coat the green tomato with the buttermilk, and you can see how that's created a nice thick batter, which you then put into the cornmeal and use your dry tong. From there, pop it into your frying oil. So while that's frying, continue the process. You can see that the oil is bubbling gently, it's not too rapid, and the tomatoes, once they get hot, they start to float, and you can see there's a nice colour. And so at that point I'm going to pull that tomato out and transfer it to some paper towels so that it can cool and drain. Just do it in small batches and don't overcrowd the pan, because that will lower the boiling point of the oil and allow the grease to soak into the batter. You want it to keep it evenly hot so that it will crisp up the outside and just steam through the middle. If you have a deep fryer, you want to set the temperature to 365 degrees. Fried green tomatoes pair wonderfully with goat cheese. I'm using the Noble Springs plain chèvre, and topped with a little bit of hot pepper jelly. We hope this has been helpful, and come back and see us, y'all. For more recipes, visit our website and check out our YouTube channel for more videos.